Welcome in, Arizona. This is the Hometown Arizona show. Daily, a little bit of a late start. Try to be here at noon. We'll be on TikTok at 1 if you wanted to catch us again. Today we're going to do things a little different. We're going to slow it down and look at Arizona at the extreme local level. Today I'm going to talk about your local music store. Not the giant national chain, the online warehouse or the place that can ship a guitar to your door by tomorrow afternoon. I'm talking about the locally owned music store. The one in a shopping center you've driven past 100 times. The one with the guitars on the wall and the counter full of things that musicians always seem to need. And maybe a lesson room in the back where somebody is learning their first song. From the outside, a music store looks simple. You walk in, you buy a pack of strings, you ask about a guitar. Maybe your kid takes lessons there once a week. But behind that counter is a whole world most people never see. I used to own a music store years ago. I know what it feels like to look at a wall and realize that every instrument hanging there isn't a decoration. It's money, it's risk. It's a bet that the community still wants a place like this to exist. In a music store, the money is literally hanging on the wall. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to take you behind the counter just for a little while. I want you to walk in the shoes of a local music store owner. Not in a polished, romanticized way, but in a real way. The hopeful way. The stressful way. The I believe this town needs this way. Because the local music store isn't just a shop. It's one of those places that helps a community become musical. Before there's a band on stage, before there's a kid playing their first recital, and before there's a song written in somebody's bedroom or garage, there's often a music store somewhere in that background helping it happen. And if we don't slow down long enough to understand that, we miss how important these places really are. Most places don't open a music store because it's an easy way to make money. That's the first thing to understand. Nobody looks at a small retail space, expensive inventory, monthly rent, online competition, and unpredictable foot traffic and says, well, this should be simple. That's not usually how the story begins. It usually starts with somebody who loves music. Maybe they played in bands, maybe they taught lessons. Maybe they were always the person friends called when their guitar needed fixing or when they needed help picking out an amp. At some point, that person starts to imagine a place. Not just a business, a place. A place where a parent can walk in and say, my kid wants to play guitar, but I have no idea where to start. Instead of getting buried in search results, that parent gets a real person saying, that's okay, let's figure it out. That's one of the most important things a local music store offers, permission. It's permission to not know yet, permission to be a beginner, permission to ask the obvious question, to touch the instrument, hear it, feel it, and imagine yourself becoming the kind of person who can play it. The internet can sell you a guitar, but the internet doesn't look at a nervous teenager and say, hey, you're better than you think. A local music store can do that. The beginning of someone's musical life is fragile. A kid can be interested in music and lose confidence fast. An adult can finally decide to learn an instrument and feel embarrassed before they even begin. A parent can want to help their child, but feel completely overwhelmed. That first interaction is important. If the person behind the counter makes them feel small, they may never come back. But if that person makes them feel welcome, something opens up. That's the part of the business people don't always see. A good local music store isn't just moving products. It's helping people cross a line from curiosity into identity. From I want to learn guitar to I'm learning guitar. That's a big shift. And it often starts in a little store. So let's talk about what it takes to build one. Before the doors open, there's a practical side of that dream. You have to create the business. You have to find a space, sign a lease. You have to decide how much room you need, how much you can afford, and whether enough people will walk through the door to justify that risk. And it's a real risk. Rent doesn't care if you had a slow week. Electric bill doesn't care if the students stopped taking lessons. Insurance doesn't care if everyone decided to order online this month. The clock starts ticking the minute you sign that lease. And then you have to make the store feel alive. That's harder than people think. A music store can't feel empty. It has to have energy. It has to feel like something is happening there. Somebody walks in and the walls are bare, the dream disappears a little bit. So the owner starts putting money into the room. The guitars go on the wall, the amp goes on the floor. A few beginner instruments come in, some strings, some books, some accessories, enough to make the place feel real. And that's where the pressure begins, because inventory is not just inventory, it's hope with the price tag. Every item in the store is the owner saying, I believe someone in this community is going to need this. That's a vulnerable thing. You're not just buying products, you're trying to teach, you're trying to predict your town, your neighborhood. Will parents come in for beginner guitars? Will local musicians need repairs? Will students keep taking lessons? Will bands support you? Will people give you a chance before they order online? That's the quiet tension of all local retail, really. The store has to look ready before the customers prove they're coming in. And when they do come, the owner has to be more than a salesperson. That's another thing people don't always realize. The local music store owner has to read the room constantly. A beginner doesn't need the same conversation as a working musician. A parent trying to buy a first instrument needs patience. A teenager trying to impress their friends needs encouragement without being pushed. A musician with a gig in 2 hours needs a solution, not a lecture. That's the human part. A good music store knows when to teach, when to listen, when to recommend, and when to just let somebody play for a minute. It's not something an algorithm does well. And yet the local store has to compete with the algorithm every day. This is where the modern pressure really shows up. A customer can stand inside a store, hold a guitar, ask every question, get real advice, and then pull out their phone to see if they can save a few dollars somewhere else. And look, I get it. People have budgets. Everyone's trying to stretch their money. Online shopping is part of life now. But from the store owner's side, that moment stings because the store did the work. The store created the space. The store stocked the item, answered the questions. The store gave the customer confidence. Then the sale went somewhere else. That's one of the hardest parts of being a small local retailer today. You're expected to provide the human experience, but you're competing with companies that don't have to maintain that same kind of relationship with the community. The online store doesn't know your kid. It doesn't know that your son is left-handed and frustrated because nothing else feels right. It doesn't know that your daughter started out shy but now looks forward to her lesson every week. It doesn't know that the local band playing this weekend needs cable right now because theirs just failed during sound check. The local music store knows these things, or at least it can. That's where its value lives. Not just in the products, but in the relationship. And the relationship often gets built in the lesson room. For many local music stores, the lesson room is the heartbeat of the place. It's not always glamorous. It might just be a small room in the back with a couple chairs, a music stand, and a teacher who knows how to get the beginner through the hard part. That room is important. Every week, someone walks in not quite knowing what they're doing. They sit down, they stumble through the same notes. They try again, they mess up, they laugh, they get frustrated, try again. And little by little, that they change. Music does that. It teaches people how to be bad at something long enough to get better. That's one of the most underrated lessons a person can learn because everything in the world pushes us towards instant results. Click the button, get the answer, watch the tutorial, skip the uncomfortable part. But music doesn't let you skip the uncomfortable part. Your fingers hurt, your timing is off, the chord doesn't ring right. The song sounds nothing like it sounds in your head. And then one day, it does. Not perfectly, but enough. Enough that the student hears themselves becoming someone different. That's why the lesson room matters. A kid may walk into a local music store as someone who wants to play. A few months later, they walk in as a musician. Maybe a beginner, maybe still rough, maybe still nervous, but a musician. That transformation is happening quietly in towns all over Arizona. And sometimes it starts because a local store had a teacher, a room, and enough belief to make space for it. That's the ripple effect. A local music store doesn't just serve musicians who already exist, it helps to create them. That's why these places matter to local culture. When people say they want a real local music scene, they're usually thinking about the visible parts, the band on the stage, the singer at the brewery, the guitarist at the coffee shop, the kid playing at the school event, the local artist releasing a new song. But those moments don't come from nowhere. They come from an ecosystem. Someone taught that musician. Somebody fixed that instrument, sold them their first set of strings, helped them pick the right gear. Somebody gave them a flyer, a recommendation, a contact, a little push. Confidence. A music store can be one of those places where the ecosystem gathers. Not formally, not with a big announcement, just naturally. People step in, they stop in, they talk, they ask who's playing where, they mention they need a drummer, they hear about a teacher, they find out about an open mic, they see a flyer for a show, they realize they're not alone. The last part is very important. A music store can remind people that music isn't just something you consume, it's something people around you are making right there in your town. That changes how a community feels, because a town with musicians feels different. A town with teachers feels different. A town with local values feels different. Where kids can learn, bands can form, and artists can be seen, that town feels different. But none of that happens automatically. It has to be supported. And sometimes support looks very simple. It looks like buying strings from a local store instead of adding them to an online cart. It looks like taking lessons there. It looks like asking them first before you buy something big. Looks like leaving a review after they help you. Telling another parent, go talk with them. They'll help you figure it out. Those small things matter, not because every purchase saves the business by itself, but because each one is a signal. It tells the owner, this community still needs you, and when you're running a small business, that matters more than people know. Because the hard side is very real. There are days when the store is quiet, not peaceful quiet, worrying quiet. The kind of quiet you can hear the air conditioner running and you start doing math in your head. How many lessons this week? How much rent is due? What's the inventory? Has it been sitting too long? Should we run an ad? Should we bring in something new? Should we wait? That's the part customers don't see when they walk in for a pack of strings. They don't see the owner trying to balance being helpful with staying alive. They don't see the pressure of wanting to support the community while also needing the community to support them back. And that's not guilt. That's just the truth of local business. Small business isn't an abstract thing. It's a person or a family or a small team standing behind a decision they made with real money in real time and real consequences. They signed the lease. They opened the door. They believed the town needed what they were building, and every day the town answers, sometimes loudly, sometimes quietly, sometimes not enough. That's why I think this conversation is important. Because the support local, it can become a slogan people stop hearing. It can be something we say because it sounds nice. Because the point isn't to shame people into buying locally. The point is to help people see it for what it is, to see it clearly. When you support local music stores, you're not just supporting a cash register, you're helping keep a door open. A door a kid might walk through for their first lesson, a musician might walk through when their gear breaks right before a show. A door a parent might walk through when they don't know how to support their child's new dream. A door a teacher might walk through to make a living sharing something they love. That's what we're talking about. It's a door. It's a real place. It's a place and real places are important, especially now. Because more and more of this life is becoming invisible. We order online. We stream music. We learn from screens. We communicate through apps. We do almost everything without leaving the house. And there's convenience in that. But something gets lost too. You can't replace the feeling of walking into a local store and hearing someone trying a guitar in the corner. You can't replace the small conversation with the person behind the counter who actually knows what they're talking about. You can't replace that moment with a kid. You can't replace that moment a kid walks out holding their first instrument like it's a treasure. That's local life. That's texture. It's the kind of stuff that makes one town feel different from another town. And if we want Arizona communities to have character, we have to care about the places that create that character. So the next time you pass a local music store, I hope you see more than a retail shop. I hope you see the risk behind it. I hope you see the owner looking at the wall, hoping the community still believes in places like this one. I hope you see the lesson room in the back. The beginner who doesn't know they're becoming a musician yet. The local bands, the teachers, the parents, the quiet encouragement, the late repairs, the small purchases, and the big dreams all moving through that one little place. A local music store isn't just where people buy instruments. It's where a community gives people permission to be musicians. And that's the kind of business we're trying to focus on. Not just the obvious places. Not just the places everyone already talks about, but the businesses that sit inside the local economy and quietly shape the way your community feels. The ones that are easy to overlook until they're gone. And today we're just starting off with local music stores. Maybe the next time you need strings or a cable or a lesson or a gift for someone who wants to learn, you'll think about the local store first. It's not because you have to, because maybe you see it differently now. Thanks for hanging out with me this afternoon talking about local music stores. I'll be back tomorrow at noon. I'm going to go jump on TikTok and hit my 1 o'clock appointment. We'll see you tomorrow.